Well, good morning. Welcome back to my workbench. Today, we're taking a look at a Stihl MS170. The customer said 8 months ago it was running really poorly, and when he tried to run it last week, it wouldn't start at all. Come on over here, and let's see if we can fix this MS170 for him. Here we are with a Stihl MS170. It looks to be from 2002. This is a 30cc homeowner class limbing chainsaw. The customer says he ran this saw 6 months ago and it didn't run well, and he tried to run it again recently and it ran even worse. A quick walk around this thing: plastics, handles, hardware, anything broken or missing. It looks to be complete. Chain catcher still there. Chain brake works. An Oregon bar with a steel chain. The sticker's still in the front of it, underneath that dirt. Rusty muffler. Well, let's find out why this thing does not run well. Let's get that bar and chain off. Why won't this 23-year-old MS170 run properly? That little peg was stuck in there pretty good. That clutch drum shows some pretty good wear. That probably should be replaced. Well, let's see if there's any fuel in this, and if there is, what does it look like? There is some fuel in there. Let's just dump it out and take a peek at it. Clean cup. Well, that's some dark, murky, dirty looking fuel right there. These brake spring covers on these 170s, they aren't held on by hardware. They just kind of fit on there, but they do get worn out. And this one just doesn't, it just falls off. I think there's quite a bit of water in that fuel sample. I'm going to pour it into this little glass container. It's clean. We'll let it settle, and then we can look back in a bit and see what it looks like. I can see the fuel line and fuel filter, and they are attached to each other. The tank is pretty clean. I got everything out of it. I'm not going to put that fuel back in it. There's not enough fuel to run it, and it's filthy, and I'm quite certain full of water. So there's some of my fresh fuel in it. Let's take this thing outside and see if we can get it started on our fuel. I'll meet you out there. Before I go outside and run this, I don't want to run it with the brake spring exposed because it could fly off and take someone's eyeball out. So the way these pegs work, they have a little head on them. See the little head on that peg? The head is wore right off. This is the one that came off the saw. It's been on and off this thing so many times that the head is worn out. Here's one that I found out in the crypt, and you can see the head on it is still there. The head has just been in and out too many times, is worn out, and it needs a fresh one. That's all. See, that one kind of snapped in there and fits much better. Out with the old head, in with the new head. Now we'll head outside and see if this thing will run. Catch me outside. Not good. And the cover fell off. Well, this 170 definitely doesn't run well. It starts and idles, but won't accelerate. That's classic symptoms of a plugged up spark arrestor, and we're going to find out. And that plastic cover did fall off again, so that means the holes in the crankcase are worn too. There's nothing I can do about that. The saw is 23 years old. He probably paid $130 for it brand new 23 years ago. I don't think it owes him anything. Let's dig deeper. What do you think we're going to find under here? A well-maintained machine. And that is an expired air filter. Probably should have been replaced 10 years ago. Lots of dirt ingestion. Look at that crusty old spark plug. That is an NGK. Lots of carbon. I'll go grab my camera and we'll take a look down the spark plug hole. And we're seeing a carbon buildup on top of the piston. And we're seeing carbon scoring. It doesn't look fantastic in there, but is that enough to make the saw run like what we just witnessed outside? I don't think so. Let's do a compression test. And this saw has 130 pounds of compression. That's enough compression to run the saw, so I don't think compression's the issue. Let's pull that muffler off. And the spark arrestor is already missing, so that's not the problem. And looking inside the exhaust port, bring the piston up. There is some carbon scoring on the piston. You can see there some browning. There's the piston rings. The piston rings are free, but inside this exhaust port, like, there's so much carbon buildup. I've got the piston up right now so that none of this carbon is going into the engine. Just wanted to scrape some of this out of here. All of that carbon just came out of the exhaust port. So there's nothing I can do about that carbon scoring now. This is an old small saw, and he doesn't want to spend a lot of money on this. Its days are probably numbered. I think we can get this thing back up and running, and he may get a couple more years out of it. I haven't found the reason yet why this thing runs like it does. This MS170 is nearing end of life, so we're going to try to make this thing run again as cheap as possible. You don't want to spend a lot of money on a saw like this. I'm not going to put that crusty old spark plug back in it. It's all carboned up. The threads are full of carbon. NGK BPMR7A. Gapped properly. Let's do some further testing here. That is a Stihl fuel filter, and that's a Stihl OEM fuel line. And the fuel line and carb do hold 10 psi. The fuel line isn't putty, but it's also not in great condition. It's pretty soft. I had a hard time getting a good connection right there because it's just kind of loose. The fuel filter and fuel line. The fuel line should grip the fuel filter better than that. So that fuel line, even though it passes the pressure test, it could be giving us a problem. It could be collapsing on itself. And if the fuel line's in that condition, what condition is the carburetor in? Couple 8mm nuts here to take out. Choke rod. Just went and blew a bit of compressed air at that, and now we can see what we're doing. Okay, throttle rod is disconnected. It's so easy to get a carb off of an MS170. Pop that thing off, a couple 8mm nuts. Choke rod off. Disconnect your throttle rod. Disconnect the fuel line. Pop the master control lever up and out of the way. And there's your carb off. That is the Zama carburetor. We could try rebuilding this thing. This carb doesn't have an accelerator pump, so there's a fairly good chance that I could successfully clean it and rebuild it. I think I have the carb kit here, so we can give it a try. And if it doesn't work, I'll probably just put a HIPAA carb on it. An OEM carb is over $90, and I know that he doesn't want to do that. Let me go blow this thing off, and we'll get started. There is a big chunk of something in that micro screen, and I think it's a piece of fuel line. Yeah, the fuel line's probably breaking down, collapsing on itself, and that's probably a piece of it caught in there. So that confirms what I thought about the fuel line being in poor condition. I think it's just falling apart. There's a couple specks of dirt in there, but that chunk of line would have been causing a problem. The metering lever height was fine. The fuel pump is pretty distorted. The metering diaphragm has a better memory than I do. We'll pull the guts out of this thing. Something else to note here, this Welch plug, you see this sealant? You see how it is coming off? So when this carburetor was in production, the saw is what, 22, 23 years old? Ethanol fuel wasn't an issue here back in this time. Newer carbs, you'll see a red sealant in here, and that red sealant is ethanol resistant. This sealant isn't, and you can see what the ethanol fuel has done to it. It just disintegrates it. The problem with that is pieces of that sealant could get into places in this carb that I can't get to. I can get this jet out. I cannot get that one out. I can't tell you over the years how many times I've cleaned and rebuilt a carburetor just to find out that it still won't run properly. I don't know. This is risky. When you can buy a brand new carb from HIPAA for $10 or less, how much time do you spend fussing around with this? Possibly wasting a whole bunch of time and a carb kit. And this carb kit costs more than a brand new HIPAA carb. If you guys weren't watching, I would probably not attempt this. But since you're here, maybe this could be interesting. Let's go ahead and rebuild this carb with a new carb kit and see if we can make this thing run properly. And if we can't, we'll put a HIPAA carb on it. So this high-speed jet, let's remove that, and we can clean in behind it properly. We can't clean that one, but we'll do what we can here. I'm going to go clean this thing up with some fresh fuel and some light compressed air, and then we'll put this thing back together. I'll be right back. Just put this little piece of wire through the jet in case there was anything in there. I can see through it now, and before I couldn't. There's probably a piece of that sealant in there. There, it's clean now. So put that back in. My carb kit for this carb is an RB77. And this carb kit costs more than a brand new HIPAA carb. But today we're doing a little bit of experimenting. I have a little bit of extra time this afternoon, so let's give it a try. So our kit came with everything except for the screw. We'll reuse that. Let's put our new micro screen in. That is the perfect height. So if you don't have this tool, you just need a straight edge. This metering lever is level with the body of the carb on this carburetor. And the rebuilt carb holds 10 psi. Perfect. The rebuilt carb is ready to install. I've plugged the intake up with some paper towel. I'm going to go over and just blow some more of this crap out of here. I'll be right back. We need to install a new fuel line in this 170. So 4 pieces of hardware. Take your oil cap off. Then you pull that whole recoil assembly off. Then the whole fuel tank pulls out, and we can easily replace this fuel line. Okay, so there's our old fuel line that does not leak under pressure, but is disintegrating inside. I'll go clean this fuel tank off and blow it out, and we'll put a new fuel line in it. I've got this thing all cleaned up inside. And there's our new fuel line, which is green now. And this has some ethanol resistance to it, where the original one didn't. And there's the part number for that fuel line. And we're going to position it in there like that, with the point pointing towards the fuel cap. Just use something blunt. I put a little bit of press fluid on the grommet. Use your blunt object and just carefully put the grommet down in its place. Just like that. And the fuel tank back in its hole. And when you're doing this, you'll want to be aware of your bar oil. Dump it out if you want. This has very little bar oil in it, so it's not dumping when it sits on its side like that. I'm going to put the fuel cap back on for now. I'll hold my finger over the new fuel line, and I'm just going to blow some of that crud out of there before I put the cover back on. There we go. I put the oil cap back on too, just to keep all of the stuff out of there. You probably can change that fuel line without pulling this tank out. I just find it's the easiest way to do it. This saw is just absolutely filthy. And let's put our carb back on. And reattach the throttle rod. Snap our master control lever back in its holder. Make sure that contact spring's in the right place when you put that back in. Go clean this thing up. Sometimes you can spend more time cleaning a saw than you can actually fixing a saw. We already put a new spark plug in this. Make sure your new fuel filter goes down into the bottom of the tank and isn't curled up by the fuel cap. And we're going to replace this air filter with a new one. This is the older style MS170 filter. There's two different MS170 filters. That's the part number for that air filter. You can get a service kit for this saw, which comes with the air filter, spark plug, fuel filter, and it fits the older 170s, older 180s in that serial number range. Okay, we'll put our fresh fuel back in it. And the fuel that I originally took out of this, and I put it in this container, it sat for a bit, and there is lots of sediment, stuff sitting in the bottom, dirt, water bubbles. It might be hard to see the water in there, but that's a really poor quality fuel sample. And it looks to be mixed heavy on the oil side. And maybe that's why this thing has so much carbon in it. I hope it runs, and that all wasn't for nothing. Okay, did I forget anything? Let me just check my workbench here. Old air filter, old fuel line, carb kit, spark plug, fuel filter. Let's go back outside and see if this thing runs any better. I'll meet you outside. Please run. Here we go. Did I waste my time? Perfect. That's what you want to hear. Fantastic. Not bad for being 22 years old. That runs good. This clutch drum is completely worn out. I wonder if the needle bearings ever been greased. You can see the deep grooves in that clutch drum. I think a new clutch drum would push us way over budget. Tyler's gonna check the crypt for the best of the used, and we'll see what he comes back with. Needle bearings in one piece. It looks okay. The clutch looks good. The springs are tight. The saw is oiling no problem. Let's grease this thing and put this back together and go cut some wood. Well, here's what Tyler found me. There's the one that we took off of it, and there's what he found out back in the crypt. Good job, Tyler. There's no play in that. That's as close to new as this thing's gonna get. Washer. Clip. I'll just put his weight cover back on because the one I put on it won't stay on either. Everything just a little bit tired and a little bit worn out. Okay, bar and chain, and I'll meet you out in the woodpile.
Is this gonna start and keep running? So I had two. I wanted to drop one and then the other, but they were kind of up at the top. They were tied together. And then I got vines ready to pull dead branches out of other trees. Tree down. Saw worked great. I'm just gonna limb these up and we'll worry about them another day. No, need a bigger saw.
038.
Yeah, or 260 or something.
I can build you a 260.
Yeah, 50cc would be a little more comfortable.
Okay, I'll go make you one right now.
I feel like I'm on a mountainside here. I'm not, but feels like it. These are both dead ash. They were really, really nice looking trees when they were alive. Now this year, not one leaf on them. And maybe the last 3 years, no leaves. They need to come down. Probably an 038. You got any coming up?
I'm gonna go make one for you right now.
That'd be great.
Let's go. Actually, I'll make an 038. You go make dinner.
Sounds good. Just let me get the ticks off of me.
Well, this Stihl MS170 runs and cuts again. When this saw arrived here, it would start and run, it would idle, but it would not accelerate. This saw gave the symptoms of a plugged spark arrestor, but we found the spark arrestor missing. What we did find was the fuel line disintegrating, and we found a piece of the fuel line inside the carburetor. So this saw got a quick little engine service, a new fuel line, and the carburetor disassembled, cleaned, and rebuilt. And this thing runs fantastic. I guess that's it for the MS170 that won't run properly. It's on to the next chainsaw, and I got a whole line of saws waiting for me. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time.